greatest heights of American music, Dolly Parton became far more than a country superstar. Now we remember an icon whose music, generosity, and unmistakable spirit touched the world. The story is Senator Darlene Graham. President Trump scores a much-needed political win tonight. His hand-picked candidate in South Carolina survives a tough Republican runoff. What does her victory mean for the midterms? And the story is trade war. America's closest ally is striking back. Canada is slapping billions of dollars in tariffs on U.S. goods, escalating a dispute that could affect everything from steel and dairy to clothing and cosmetics. How could it impact you? That's ahead.
Live from Los Angeles, The Story Is with Elex Michaelson.
Our top story is tributes pouring in for the legendary country music star and humanitarian Dolly Parton. She died on Tuesday at 80 years old at her home in Nashville. Her publicist says it happened after a brief battle with cancer. Parton rose from humble beginnings to become one of the most beloved, unifying, and philanthropic stars in the country. She was a fixture in pop culture in a career that spanned more than half a century across music, TV, and movies. Later in life, she funneled her success into philanthropy, founding the Imagination Library, which has gifted more than 300 million books to kids around the world. Here's part of the statement Parton's family released announcing her death.
Dolly was a farmer, just like her daddy. He farmed the soil, she farmed songs and happiness. Dolly called me and said she wants to rest in a beautiful bed of plush cotton because after a life wearing heavy rhinestones, she finally deserves to be comfortable and have some rest. Rest in peace, Aunt Dolly, Aunt Granny, Gigi. May God bless Dolly Parton, and may God bless you all. She will always love you.
Parton's family says at her request, they will hold a small, private memorial service. Friends and family are encouraged to share their tributes and memories on social media by tagging at Dolly Parton or leaving a message on her website. In lieu of flowers, family requests donations to Parton's Imagination Library. Parton had been open about various health issues in the last 2 years. She spoke with CNN back in 2022.
What would you tell your younger self?
Well, that's a tricky question. It was my dream to do it, but I would just probably, looking back, I would just say, girl, you better buckle up because you're in for the ride of your life. You're going to have to take a lot of stuff. You're going to have to give a lot of stuff, and you're going to have to, stand by your guns, believe in yourself, stay true to yourself.
President Trump has ordered that the American flag be lowered throughout the country for 1 week in honor of Dolly Parton. He posted the order on Truth Social, where he called Parton's death a true loss for millions of people. And at exactly 9:25 Eastern Time tonight, New York City honored Dolly by lighting up the Empire State Building with pink, sparkly lights, a nod to her iconic song, 9 to 5. A statement on social media read, Dolly was a global cultural icon whose 7-decade career reached generations of fans. Her friends and fellow musicians are echoing those statements.
She's so sure of herself that she's a woman that feels good when she did her hair, when she had her makeup on. She loved to feel that way, and she was unapologetic about it. In the last 10 years, has navigated these waters of division that we seem to be swimming in, and she just constantly was able to reach across, was beloved by every walk of person internationally. It's hard to really put into words just what an amazing woman this was on every front.
She was so full of light and life and never stopped.
She was for everybody, and she was an inspiration.
She should have run for president. She'd be a shoo-in for sure.
So she just had a way of embracing life and embracing people. And it's not what Dolly bought, it's what she built. It's not what she got, but what she gave in life. And for that, we will always be thankful.
Joining me now live here on set is Chris Willman, senior music writer and chief music critic at Variety. Chris, welcome back to The Story Is. You say you first met Dolly some 40 years ago, And she flirted with you, right?
Yeah, you never forget that. Yeah, she was promoting an album she did with Linda Ronstadt and Emmylou Harris, which is still pretty beloved 40 years later, called Trio. But they separated the three of them to go into different rooms with different journalists. And so I'm lucky, I get Dolly first, and she says, you're going to put me in a room alone with this handsome man? And so you immediately melt when you hear something like that, even if she tells that to all the boys.
Yeah. You know, there's the Dolly Parton sort of caricature that she created with the fake hair and the fake everything, right? Who is the real Dolly Parton, the person that you got to see up close?
I asked her that, and she literally said there is no real Dolly Parton. But she was joking, of course, and because she loved being artificial, and she loved playing that against the realness of what was in her songwriting and what was really in her heart. So you know, it was a two-sided approach to entertainment where I think you take some of the self-importance out of you by you don't let people get a chance to make fun of you when you've already sort of parodied yourself your whole career. People have fallen in love with that, and somehow she broached that dichotomy. No one thought there was this inexplicable split between the heartfelt Dolly, the almost messianic seeming Dolly at times, and then the mischievous Dolly who said that everything about her was fake and called herself a big phony when I talked to her. And yet there was nothing phony about her.
And to that point, I mean, Melissa Etheridge should have brought this up. This idea of her universal appeal. You say she's the most beloved entertainer on the planet, right?
That's my contention, yeah. I've tried to think that over and over, like, you think about, even in the history of the 20th century, Elvis, the Beatles, go back to Charlie Chaplin, go forward to Madonna, but there are people who hate her, right? There's no one you could ever meet who, unless they're just trying to be a contrarian, who doesn't not love Dolly Parton.
Why do you think that is?
That's so wild to think about. But it was, first off, I mean, the songs were good. At the core of it, before you have persona, before you have artifice, she's one of the great songwriters of the 20th century. And when I talked to her, she said if she had to pick just one role in life, singer, actress, performer, she would stick to songwriting. And so songs from Covenant Colors to Jolene to I Will Always Love You, the song, but the songs that meant so much to people. But then people who didn't have to love country music, but you knew you were seeing something up there. And she really turned around the whole idea of country bumpkins and made America sort of fall in love with somebody from the South that I don't know anybody had before or since to that degree. And she fit in showbiz circles. She was part of like the Studio 54 scene a little bit when disco and country crossed over and these extravagant gowns. But at the core of it, I think people loved that she embraced show business, she embraced rap, but there was something really, not melancholy, but something deeply felt, and maybe like a really big.
Well, and she clearly cared about issues, right? And the work she did with the books, unbelievable, 300 million books. But yet she found a way to not get into the partisan political divide, endorsing a candidate in a time when so many people are tribal. I mean, you have a day where the Democratic Socialists of America and President Trump are both putting out statements about Dolly Parton. That would happen for almost nobody else on the planet. The way she was able to navigate that divide for 50 years is crazy.
Yeah, I mean, Donald Trump's tweet today on Truth Social, that will probably be the one Truth Social that everyone in America will agree with during his entire time he's alive.
Right.
And no one will argue with the half-mast flag order that he did. And yeah, it is completely unusual. And sometimes I saw people, I would always look at social media and she did a theme for a trans theme movie not that many years ago, and I remember seeing some tweets and things like, oh, is Dolly woke? Well, maybe she's a little And of course, the LGBTQ plus community loved her, but so did the farthest right rednecks in the room. And if they suspected that maybe she was too inclusive for their taste, they were willing to
Give her a pass for that. Well, what a legacy. Chris, thank you so much for coming in to talk about it. You can check out more of your writing about this at Variety.com. Earlier tonight, I met with composer and Oscar-winning actor Anthony Hopkins and the LA Philharmonic's outgoing musical director Gustavo Dudamel. We were set up to talk about their collaboration on Hopkins' debut orchestral album, Life is a Dream. We'll have more of that conversation later on this week, but right now, we want to bring you their thoughts on the passing of Dolly Parton.
Very sad, the force of nature. I met her just briefly, once some years ago, and she was extraordinary.
She brought the identity of great music that she made. It was not only for this country, I think she was a reference all around the world. It's a big loss, but at the same time we have her spirit, you know, and her artistry eternally with us.
What an amazing songwriter.
Oh, she's brilliant. And then she wrote that song with Whitney Houston. And also, great spirit, great energy.
I mean, obviously a different kind of music than a lot of what you've done, but did you find her inspiring?
Always. You know, for me, music is what, you know, really, I really enjoy. I don't have this kind of roles, this kind of careers with music. I really enjoy what I listen and I appreciate, because there is a creation, there is an effort, there is a talent behind all of that. And Dolly Parton, you know, is a reference artistically for all music.
Our thanks to them. Our other big story tonight, it is election night in America, and CNN projects the new U.S. Senator from South Carolina, Darlene Graham, will advance in the general election in November. She will defeat Congressmember Ralph Norman in the Republican Senate runoff. Graham has held the seat for only about 6 weeks, appointed after the death of her brother, longtime Senator Lindsey Graham. Darlene Graham will face Democratic nominee Annie Andrews in November. You can see the total there. Race pretty close. Graham up 52.5 to 47.5, but you got to get more than 50%. She is over that threshold. She is going to have a chance to be the next senator in South Carolina. Listen.
I want to thank President Trump for all of his support and his endorsement. Mr. President, Lindsey truly loved you and viewed you as one of his closest friends. I appreciate that bond and appreciate all that you've done for our country. Our victory would not have been possible without you, and we are truly grateful. South Carolina is truly a strong country.
Power of President Trump's endorsement on display there in South Carolina. We will talk about that and the day's other political headlines with our panel, Adam Mockler, Katie Zachariah, coming up in a little bit. Plus more, the life and legacy of the one and only Dolly Parton. A music historian weighs in on how a Smoky Mountain Girl became a best-selling artist.
Decades in Sports, Sunday at 9 on CNN, and next day on the CNN app. New fast-acting bio-free triple card.
Birds, election night in America. You see the panel standing by. The story is Darlene Graham. CNN projecting she will defeat Congressman Ralph Norman in a runoff in South Carolina. Political novice Graham was sworn in last month after the death of her brother, longtime Republican Senator Lindsey Graham. Joining me now for more on all of this is Adam Mockler, who is the host of the Adam Mockler Show on the Midas Touch Network, and former Homeland Security spokesperson Katie Zachariah. Now there's a senior communications advisor for Truth Social and Trump Media and Technology Group. Welcome back, both of you. All right, as the Republican here, let's let you weigh in on the Republican primary first. Senator Darlene Graham, what do you make of this? President Trump put a lot of chips in on this. Seems like a big win for him.
Absolutely. Well, the president's endorsement record is about a 97%, 100% in the Senate, 98% in the House, and 80% with the governor's governor's race, and I think that's going to even go higher with Darlene Graham tonight, and then also the governor's race in Oklahoma. So, look, I think this was a great win for Darlene Graham. I think the president's endorsement made the difference on this race, and I'm looking forward to seeing her win the Senate race.
You know, when I look at the criteria that I grade politicians by, it's not their last name or whether or not they were endorsed by Trump. It's generally the merits that they've built their career on. Darlene Graham couldn't answer simple questions about China and Taiwan, but because she has Trump's endorsement, you know, they're trying to turn this into this feudal monarchy where just because she's related to Lindsey Graham, she is then qualified for the position. Can I ask you, do you find it kind of scary that she didn't know the basics about China and Taiwan?
Well, if we want to go to qualifications, I look at John Oliver, who was a filmmaker, investigative journalist, no prior political experience. I look at Raphael Warnock, who had no prior political experience and pastor.
So can you answer the question?
I think Darlene Graham will have, look, I lived in China, Beijing, China, the whole situation with China is very important to me, very critical for me. So I trust that Darlene Graham will absolutely know exactly what she needs when she's senator.
She didn't know what she was saying on the debate stage. She will be a rubber stamp for all of Trump's worst impulses on going to war, just like we see with Iran right now. So you seem like you know more about China and Taiwan than one of the senators.
We're not looking as a rubber stamp. I mean, for Iran.
In order to be an effective politician, you need to have a base level of knowledge about what you're talking about and what you're voting for. When Donald Trump is taking us to war with Iran and other countries, it feels like Congress and the War Powers Resolution aren't acting as they should. So if Darlene Graham is a part of that Congress, she's not going to invoke the War Powers Resolution.
Is it not up to the people of South Carolina to determine whether they think she's fit for office?
It absolutely is.
So they will be voting for her.
So why do you think she won?
I think she won because, number one, name recognition in South Carolina. Number two, Trump's endorsements
He was running
weight.
against a congressman who'd been there for 5 terms.
Yeah, but Trump's
made a clear point about national
Trump's
security,
endorsement
and the voters chose somebody else.
Trump's endorsement carries a lot of weight, and she was basically anointed as a candidate when the entire Republican apparatus got behind her. She wasn't fighting an uphill battle. She was basically just pushed into the position, right?
But that President Trump's endorsement record and his endorsement of Darlene Graham and the support of South Carolina voters who voted her in, it's the confluence of the events.
That's
it's not. This isn't a rubber stamp. He endorses her and she wins. They actually elected her.
I'm not saying that he's a rubber stamp on her. I'm saying that Donald Trump endorsed her so strongly because he knows that when she gets into Congress, when she gets in the Senate, she's going to be a rubber stamp on everything that he does. I mean, how is she going to be able to differentiate between China and Taiwan, a good decision and a bad decision?
But the Republican voters in South Carolina had a choice to pick Ralph Norman, who clearly was not going to be a rubber stamp.
Yeah.
That's the reason that Donald Trump didn't endorse him.
Yeah.
And they chose Darlene Graham, so maybe that in itself is democracy.
Well, the Republican...
That's what they want.
No, I'm not saying it's anti-democratic. I'm just saying that the Republican voter base is wrapped around Trump's finger. His endorsement carries a lot of weight, and it feels like she was not ready for this position, yet she was pushed into it. I mean, we have to admit, not being able to answer a simple question on China and Taiwan is quite alarming, right?
Yeah, and saying that national security is not my thing.
It's a little bit alarming.
It's
a little bit alarming.
Let's talk about what's happening in Texas. A new poll we can put up on the screen. The Senate race there is heating up. A new poll shows that Democrat James Talarico with a narrow lead over Republican Ken Paxton. The gap appears wider among independent voters who were polled. 48% said they had an unfavorable view of Paxton compared to 14% of an unfavorable view of Talarico. Adam, if Democrats were able to finally win Texas, which has been the white whale for so long, that probably means they've won the Senate. Because that means you're probably winning in a lot of other places because this tends to go as a win. What is the biggest difference between a Democratic Senate and a Republican Senate?
We just pointed it out perfectly. The Iran war could have been stopped with a War Powers Resolution after 60 days, and that helps the American people a lot on affordability, on gas prices. Knowing that the Strait of Hormuz is open again would be nice. I also think we need a massive anti-corruption push. We need to be investigating some of the corruption happening. For example, Donald Trump is selling early access to his Truth Social for $100,000 a month, where you can get insider information about stocks in the Iran war. You're the communications advisor for Truth Social. How do you justify that?
It's not insider information. It's what other companies are doing. This is what competitors are doing.
Well, $100,000 a month.
Zero is in the latency.
For like $100,000.
They're not getting insider
you
trading
pay
information, they're getting early access, and this happens on X. This happens with every other competitor. But to the Tallarico point, I would love to be able to answer that. I worked on Senator Cruz's Senate race in 2024, and there was a large hysteria. I don't know if you remember that Senator Cruz was going to lose Texas, and he won by 8.5 points. And I think we're going to see the same thing in this race with Ken Paxton and Tallarico. We've had 189 consecutive GOP statewide wins in Texas. The last senator elected to Texas that was a Democrat was in 1988, and the one that was appointed was in, I think, 1993. Yeah. This is like saying we're going to have a Republican governor, as much as I love Steve Hilton, in the state of California.
Well, but the polls are much closer in Texas
closer
with the Democrats and Republicans than they are here in California.
They are closer, and I haven't seen a lot of momentum out of, and I will be, to be fair, out of Ken Paxton's race at his Senate campaign. And I think as we get closer to the November election, we will see a little bit more from him. But Texas is a very traditional state, and Tallarico has an incredibly high
Adam
uphill battle.
mentioned the stakes, how he sees it in terms of what would a Democratic Senate be. What is a Republican Senate? What's the stakes for you?
Well, for me, it's continuing on President Trump's legacy, and if we are very likely going to lose the House, in my opinion. I think we have some chance to win the House, but it's looking at about a 60-40 that we lose it, that the Republicans lose. And I think that the Senate will hold as a safeguard to continue at least being able to not weaponize the entire next 2 years against President Trump tied up in impeachment. I would also like to continue to see deportations. I would love to see President Trump's continuation of the ability to tariff and make America great.
I mean, I don't know what the legacy is that you're protecting. Is it like the Iran war that's failing? Is it the Epstein files? Is it the Truth Social that you kind of just dodged away from? The reality is, $100,000 is a very high barrier of entry. If you want to have that barrier of entry, you have to already be some sort of firm or have a lot of money. Other platforms aren't selling access to the president's early Truth Social posts. So I don't know what legacy you're defending, but he's going to go down as one of the most corrupt presidents.
Trump Media and Technology Group is a publicly traded company with a fiduciary duty to their shareholders. Early access EPI, which is what you're talking about, is done by all of the competitors. This is not something that the president has done. This is something that the company has done.
Which platforms are the competitors of the president? Like, is the president making announcements on Twitter or on Instagram?
All of his Truth Social posts end up on every other single platform.
But you get early access. You get early access. You just beat your own argument.
You can subscribe, like everybody else, to early access.
Okay, thanks. The communications advisor for Truth Social.
All right. Well, there's going to be more to talk about in the next hour, including Canadian tariffs and Dolly Parton, which may bring us together. Let's hope so. But Adam, Katie, thank you both for being here. We appreciate it. We'll have more in our next hour. More coming up next, though, about Dolly Parton. You know and love Dolly Parton's songs, but
sad, and I think individually I'm heartbroken, but I think collectively everyone feels the same way.
If America had royalty, you know, right, she would be one of them. It's like losing our Princess Diana.
It didn't specifically hit just one genre, and it didn't hit just one generation. She is multi-generational, and for me, her music speaks volumes.
Jolene, 9 to 5, Coat of Many Colors, these global hits not only cement the Dolly Parton status as a songwriter, but they also her power as a captivating storyteller through music. But where did that inspiration come from? How formative or meaningful?
Want to move ahead, but the boss won't seem to let me. I swear sometimes that planet out to get me.
Before the fame, the philanthropy, the dazzling dolliness of it all, Dolly's songs of working people were everywhere. Her lyrics told the tales of their struggles on the job, in the home. Of course, in her part, many of her most memorable tunes, including her greatest commercial hit, were about failed relationships. But there was so much more. Songs about jealousy, songs about poverty and pride.
My coat of many colors that made only from red,
Her message could be tough, too. When white supremacists rose in the news, she took the name Dixie off an attraction at her amusement park. She supported LGBTQ rights and the Black Lives Matter movement. She promoted reading, access to medical care, education. Her career, life, and lyrics were a constant campaign for women's rights. She met Richard Nixon, performed for Jimmy Carter, was honored at the Kennedy Center by George W. Bush, and turned down the Medal of Freedom from both Donald Trump and Joe Biden. Through it all, she gently pushed away from any partisan claim to her fame.
My joke is that my daddy was a Republican, my mom was a Democrat, and I'm a hypocrite.
Yet even in tumultuous times, she embraced all who wanted to join her in the kindness and caring of the Dolly Party.
But I'm perfectly fine now, and I don't miss you. And the sky is green, and the grass is blue.
The thing she was proudest of was her songwriting. Of course, Nashville, Tennessee is the country music capital of the world, and fans there are paying tribute to Dolly Parton tonight. Our Shimon Prokopez is there.
Here in Nashville, where Dolly meant so much to this city and this city meant so much to her, this is the city that she really became who she was and who she is. And many of the people out here who are celebrating for different reasons and partying and listening to rock and roll and listening to country music all had the same thoughts. They were happy to talk about Dolly and happy to talk about what she meant to them and their families and what she meant to the world. Take a listen to what some of them told me.
We are so blessed to be in her hometown tonight. We feel so blessed to be part of a little closer to Dolly. We dance a lot in my mom and dad's kitchen, and we danced to Dolly. She was an icon.
My mom is 91. She sent a family text out. She goes, I don't know of any person on the planet that has given more than Dolly Parton, not just to East Tennessee, but to the world.
The celebrations and remembering Dolly here, who's really the queen of country, will continue. Flowers placed outside her home, other vigils planned for all across the city as people continue to remember Dolly Parton.
Shimon Prokopez in Nashville, joining me live right now from Nashville is music historian Don Cusick. Don, thanks so much for being with us. You actually wrote the liner notes for Dolly for her record, All I Can Do. What was that experience like?
Well, it was just a novel idea I had at the time, and it starts out, I've spent a lot of nights alone with Dolly Parton, and it talks about listening to her music alone. The idea came when I was sitting alone listening to a Dolly Parton album, and so I wrote it up, sent it to Joe Galani, RCA, and he sent it on. I think he sent it to Porter, and Dolly read it, and they both said, yeah, let's run with it.
I know you had an opportunity to interact with her many times, including her thanking you for doing that liner note. And you said every time you'd be with her, she was just Dolly. What do you mean by that?
She was what she was. I mean, she became what she wanted to be. She had a sparkle, and she became a star. That's what she wanted to be. I mean, in a world of hills and valleys, she was a mountain. And she was, it's good to say she was just who she is, but she had a serious, if you wanted to see her serious side, ask about her songs. And when you talk about her songs, I haven't heard anybody mention Wildflowers. That's her life story laid right out as clear as you can get.
And in terms of, you also said that In her early days, when you were first working with her, including on her first album ever, her voice was not necessarily the typical voice that record executives were used to. How so?
Right. Well, she was, now I was not working with her. I was working for a record label. And she had left by the time I got there. It was Monument Records. And her voice was penetrating, let's say. She was 20 years old, and that voice wasn't as mature as it was going to get later on. And as time went on, her voice became more commercial. And that's, I think people saw that it was kind of hard for radio to get her on the air at first.
As a historian of music who lives in Nashville, what is Dolly Parton's legacy in like a sentence or two?
Her legacy really is the children's books. In terms of music, she's got a legacy there, certainly. But it's the things she did outside of music, which music made possible. Like I said, it was she had a sparkle to her, and people will, sparkles don't last forever, but I think they will with Dolly.
Yeah.
Nashville is just in disbelief, but we never thought she would die.
Yeah, a lot of warning either. People didn't want to even see her. John Cusick, thanks for sharing your perspective. Really appreciate it. And we love everybody in Nashville.
Thank you.
President Trump is taking his trade war with Canada to a new level by threatening to change the name of Lake Ontario.
Thanks.
We'll have the latest on that story ahead.
Decades in Sports, Sunday at 9 on CNN.
So the 50% tariffs the Trump administration slapped on Canada will cover roughly 6% of the goods that the U.S. exports to Canada. They'll include U.S. steel and aluminum, paper products, and home appliances, among other items. CNN's Maddie Gannon has more on the tit for tat and how the U.S. is responding.
Rhetoric between the U.S. and Canada over this bubbling trade war has rapidly accelerated over the last 24 hours, and it appears the back and forth in jabs and tariffs is just getting started. President Donald Trump escalated his criticisms with a series of posts on Truth Social Tuesday morning. That started with a post of Trump saying that the U.S. was seriously considering seeking to rename Lake Ontario Lake America, followed by a map with the name change. Trump went on to call Canada the most difficult and unreasonable country to work with, and accused it of ripping off the U.S. for decades. That's despite his administration working out a new trade deal between the U.S., Canada, and Mexico during Trump's first term. In response, the Premier of Ontario, Doug Ford, accused Trump Tuesday of wanting to hurt Americans with new tariffs on Canada.
President Trump needs to take a couple pages out of Ronald Reagan's book that was dead against tariffs. It just hurts any country to put tariffs on Canada, especially the #1 customer in the entire world.
Canada is one of America's top trading partners, but the latest trade war was sparked when talks over tariffs fell apart late last week. As a result, the U.S. allowed new 50% tariffs on about $20 billion worth of Canadian goods to take effect. Trump is now also threatening new 50% tariffs on Canadian trucks, cars, and more in the new year. For Canada's part, officials Tuesday unveiled new dollar-for-dollar tariffs against the U.S. set to take effect September 8th in response. The tariffs range from 15% to 50% and target over 700 American goods. At the White House, I'm Maddie Gannon.
Marco Mendocino is a former Canadian cabinet minister and former chief of staff to the Prime Minister, Mark Carney. City Council of Catholic Law Firm. Marco, welcome to Stories for First Time.
Thanks very much.
So you know Mark Carney as well as anybody. You know how this works behind the scenes. What's going on with him behind the scenes? Is he bluffing him?
Steady
very strategic, and he's got a professional career dedicated to understanding the economy and how money works. And I think that's one of the reasons why there's a mutual respect between Mr. Carney and President Trump, something that I saw firsthand when I was with him at the Oval Office for those first bilateral meetings. So notwithstanding the fact that we are in this escalation, which is very reluctant on our part, as you pointed out off the top, a direct response, I might add, to the 50% tariffs that the United States imposed on Canada on key sectors. There is mutual respect there. I would just offer three very quick points to American viewers. Canada is the United States' best customer. We do over $750 billion in two-way trade each year. In 2025, American businesses sold to Canada over $426 billion in goods and services. That's over $1.1 billion each and every day. Number two, according to the US Federal Reserve, higher tariffs do tend to lead to higher costs in the United States. And I'll put out one very important example, which directly bears on these negotiations, and that's auto. Let's say, for simplicity's purposes, that Canada and the United States build roughly 1 million cars every day. Since last year, U.S. automakers have had to pay out over $180 billion in U.S. tariffs. What is the consequence of that? You have seen a 30% decline in U.S. auto sales to Canada. You have seen a $7 to $8 billion loss to the auto sector. And that is a tax on one of the great backbones of both of our manufacturing sectors. And the last thing I would just say is that Canadians are obviously standing up, for our workers, and that's one of the reasons, again, why we're in this escalation. But we don't want Americans to pay higher costs at the grocery store or for their cars or for their energy or for anything else. And that's why we do hope that eventually we'll be able to get back to the table.
Take us inside the room at the Oval Office meeting between Trump and Carney, how that maybe informs where you think this goes from here, too.
Well, the first thing I want to say is I'll come back to President Trump and Mr. Carney, that having worked with the negotiating teams on both sides. I know Minister Dominic LeBlanc very well, having worked with him as a colleague for many years, and Janice Charette, who was the chief negotiator for Canada, who was a former clerk of the Privy Council. That's the head of the public service in the Canadian government. They're very principled, and I know that they worked hard. I also have had the opportunity to meet many of the senior staff of President Trump's administration, including Susie Wiles and Jameson Greer and Secretary Letnick. And, look, there is mutual respect there. There's no doubt that there was a lot of effort to try to get a deal done. And I do think that we were trending in a positive direction. The problem was, as we got to the 11th hour, there were some changes in the positions. That's been reported on. And at the end of the day, Canada assessed that there was not a mutually beneficial agreement that we could sign. And this takes me back to the dynamic between President Trump and Mr. Carney. I think that respect is underpinned by their experience in the private sector, their understanding of the business and how markets work. And I have to think that, aside from the rhetoric, and I've seen it, and you report on it, that through that the silver lining is that we'll be able to come back to the table and get a deal. And at the end of the day, this should be a win-win. NAFTA and its successor in CUSMA, or what you call